So later on this week, here on Capitol Hill, James Comey will testify behind closed doors after agreeing to a deal with House Republicans. The former FBI director dropped his legal challenge to a House subpoena, but he has some conditions: that House Republicans release a transcript of his testimony within 24 hours, and that they let him talk publicly about the meeting after. Comey tweeting, "This is the closest I can get to public testimony." Republicans are expected to ask him about his role in the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the Russia investigation. Joining me now, former Assistant Director for Counterintelligence at the FBI, Frank Figliuzzi, now the Chief Operating Officer for ETS Risk Management and an MSNBC National Security Analyst. Glenn Kirshner, former federal prosecutor and an MSNBC legal analyst, is joining me here in Washington, along with Kimberly Atkins and Sahil Kapoor. So, Frank, let me start with you. What do you think of these terms? Are they fair for both sides here?
I think Jim Comey's done the right thing here. He's avoiding a possible contempt charge, and he's actually calling their bluff, right? He's going to be able to come out, if they hold true to their agreement, he's going to discuss in detail a transcript of what transpired. And remember, he can go on and on and on. You may have him on your show talking about what transpired and what didn't happen, what was asked and not asked. So I think he wins in this, and I think Congress loses. I think what this is a transparent attempt to inflame, antagonize. The purpose of this is not congressional oversight. It's to ask questions that have already been asked and answered. We've had DOJ IG inquiries. We've had Jim Comey testifying on these topics. We've had a book written by Jim Comey giving us his insights into the Hillary matter. So this is all about anything but oversight. It's a last-ditch attempt to wound, inflame a base, and not let go of an issue that's already been addressed.
So given that, Sahil, what happens in roughly a month and a half from now, even less, when Democrats take over the House? This goes away?
No, of course it doesn't go away, but there's going to be, the focus is going to change dramatically. You have Jerry Nadler, who's now the ranking member of the Democratic side, who's going to become the chairman. I'm going to be watching to see how he handles this and what kinds of things he says. It's going to give us a glimpse into how he approaches it. But the Republican side is very interesting, too, because there are a number of retirements, lots of retirements on the Republican side of the Judiciary Committee. Jim Jordan, who is a fierce ally of President Trump, is going to be the ranking member, basically becoming the president's defender-in-chief. And you have other Republicans on that panel who are going to have more seniority, people like Steve King, Louis Gohmert, Matt Gaetz, who are also aligned with the president. So I think that dichotomy is going to be fascinating to watch. Comey has not made a lot of friends on Capitol Hill. He has alienated Democrats who think he gave Trump preferential treatment. He's alienated Republicans with his criticism of the president. So it'll be a tough day for him, I suspect.
So it's not just the Comey stuff that we're watching, right? This week could be a pretty big one for Robert Mueller's investigation. And there's a few things that we're watching. We want to show you what could happen this week related to the former Trump campaign chair as well as the former national security advisor. By Tuesday, federal prosecutors will likely file a sentencing memo detailing Michael Flynn's lies to federal agents, as well as any other bad acts or crimes, if they exist, that Flynn may have committed. Friday is a new filing deadline. Prosecutors are expected to file documents detailing for the first time about just how Paul Manafort allegedly violated his plea and lied about. And then you got the timing on this that's fluid, but at some point this week, we expect prosecutors will also file 2 sentencing memos about Michael Cohen, his tax evasion, those payments to women during the 2016 election, and his lies to Congress. Caveat, gang, of course, these deadlines could shift, these deadlines could slide, but that is what we're watching now. So, Glenn, explain why it's so important what we might see. Some of the information that Robert Mueller has now being detailed for the first time.
Yeah, Hallie, these are potentially big factual developments. I'm not going to say they're big legal developments.
Fair.
Now, we may see more indictments drop, but what we know is that sentencing memos will be filed. I don't want to be a wet blanket, but having
a wet blanket then, Glenn. I feel like you're teeing it up for that.
Having filed hundreds of these kinds of memos, if there's information that might still be relevant to the ongoing investigation that Bob Mueller does not yet want to disclose to the public,
they won't be in there?
He may file a hybrid memo. Some of it may be under seal for the court to consider. Some of it may be out in the public square. But these, I think one way or another, we're going to see some big factual developments in the Flynn memo, in the Manafort lies memo, and then ultimately in the Cohen memo and sentence.
Are you reading anything into this sort of flurry of activity this week about a month after the midterms, or is that, to you, coincidental timing?
I think the more interesting pivotal point was the president turning in the the answers to his take-home exam, because what did we see right after he answered questions, presumably about whether he was doing a deal or potentially doing a deal with Russia? We saw a Cohen indictment that disclosed information about that. That timing was not a coincidence.
Kimberly, Sahel mentioned incoming, presumably, Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler. He was out on Meet the Press and talked a little bit about this Michael Cohen plea deal. Watch.
The fact that he was lying to the American people about doing business in Russia, and that the Kremlin knew he was lying, gave the Kremlin a hold over him. And one question we have now is, does the Kremlin still have holds over him?
And over the weekend, our Keir Simmons here at NBC caught up with Dmitry Peskov, who said, yeah, you know, these contacts happened.
And it's important to understand it, to step back and understand why this investigation is taking place. And I think Congressman Nadler is getting right to that. If you have Russia, the involvement in Russia in this deal with the president leading in, do they have leverage over him? And that's a crucial, I think once we get so far into the details of who's getting charged with what, we forget about the purpose of this. And that's the central question behind all that. And that's certainly something that Congressman Nadler and other congressional Democrats are going to be looking deeply into once they take control in January.
Frank Figluzzi, Glenn Kirshner, thank you. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.